Come on, sit down. Take a seat. Take a seat. Hello and welcome along to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel in association with Racing TV. Before you ask, I'm in a slightly different location. I'm at work, so if anyone comes in at any point, and they're currently covering Kempton on a very top-class Wednesday night. So unfortunately, if something happens, then that's just going to have to stay in. Andrew, we've got our first Jumps Racing weekend preview of the season. It's Chepstow, a meeting that we do like to talk about on the channel, and we like to build up to it. And we were at, actually, the meeting last year. It was very, very, very enjoyable. Hopefully it can be just as enjoyable. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, of course I am. Great way to get the season started. I know some people are grumbling about a few of the runners. It's obviously decent enough ground at Chepstow, so we're not going to get full fields in some of these races, but we thoroughly enjoyed it. We were a little bit dusty when we were at Chepstow, I won't lie. I think a few of the people that saw us there may have seen us at maybe 50% rather than 100%, but fingers crossed it's good fun and building up towards that first Cheltenham meeting in a couple of weeks' time.
The first Cheltenham Anti-Post episode has gone down extremely well. Over 11,000 views at this point. I think we hit 15,000 subscribers 3 or 4 days ago. I think we're already on 15,200, so absolutely flying in, and I'm glad that you did enjoy that video. If you did enjoy that video and you did subscribe, welcome back, and if you do enjoy this video, please hit that like button and get your comments down below for horses that you fancy for this weekend. But we'll get involved. So on Friday is the Persian War, a grade 2 novice hurdle, and I was semi-expecting Joe Tizard to run Scarface here. He's not been declared, but at the top of the market is a Dan Skelton horse called Quid Pro Quo. It's not the easiest that rolls off the tongue. Will you be siding with him in this big one?
Yeah, I think I might be, actually. He's a horse I like a lot. He's obviously done it very nicely in his 2 hurdling starts this summer. The form of that's completely open to interpretation. And I'm not saying he's a brilliant price at 2 to 1. I get that, but at the same stage, I don't really fancy anything in behind him. You know, you've got a few horses in there. You've got something like President Counting. Donald McCain's worked wonders with this horse to win 3 or 4 on the spin over hurdles. He did the same over fences last year. So a couple of horses of similar ilk to that. Outlaw Peter, I think, might need the start and perhaps be better suited to handicaps and maybe even fences down the line. So I just think Quid Pro Quo is probably the likeliest and probably has the most potential to be the star of this lineup.
Interesting take. I was actually at Dan Skelton's on Friday talking to him about every horse in his yard, which is quite useful, literally every single horse. And he did mention Quid Pro Quo, and he said he was impressed with him, what he's done so far, but this could be a step up. Like, he could easily make that step up, but it is a big step up from what he's been doing. I wasn't 100% sure, and I'd probably take him on with Deeper Blue, who finished actually second to Stage Star over course and distance almost 12 months ago. I think that is good form. He's since coming off the back of 2 wins for Harry Fry, and I think he could be the one maybe to take him on. Moving on to Saturday, we've got the Native River Handicap Chase, a 3-mile handicap chase. Very competitive, hard to work out which horses are going to run. Obviously, we've not had decks for Saturday yet. Is there one that really stuck out for you?
Well, there's 2 probably that interest me, considering, as you say, we don't have the declarations yet, so it's hard to make a case completely for all. I like the one at the top and the one at the bottom. I like Peregrine Run in this race. He's a fit horse after running all summer. He's actually got back into form. I know he's a veteran, but he's over 147. I'd say Sam Ewing will come over if he does run and take off £5. He obviously won at Worcester, a pretty lucrative Class 2 there last time out, and was since second on the flat over 2 mile 2 at Down Royal in a pretty good race there as well. So I think he could run a very good race, and I like that form, or I like that idea of a horse coming in here with a bit of form on the table and fitness on his side. And the other one right at the bottom is Wayfinder for Rebecca Curtis. He's over 122, 2-time course and distance winner, and I think he might be able to step up into being a decent horse. Rebecca Curtis has had a good start to the season as well.
Interesting. Yeah, hard to know which horse are going to run. If he runs, I quite like Lord Accord. I think he could be well handicapped, and this race conditions are just perfect for him. We'll love the ground. And let's then move on to the listed novice chase over 2 miles 3.5 furlongs. McFabulous is in here. He was potentially going to run in the 3-mile novice chase on Friday. He's not done that. Time Hill didn't turn up either. Harry Cobden's booked for this. Not sure if he will run, whether it's a ground concerned or whatever. If he was to run, do you think he takes all the beating? Because the horses like Pull Again Green for Fergal O'Brien has to almost find £20 on official ratings.
Yeah, you'd have to say so. Look, he's the class act going into the race. McFabulous, if he does run, he could take some beating. At the same stage, are you going to take a horse, I'm making his chase debut in a listed contest? I'm not so sure. I don't know what the story is from a ground perspective. Will be interesting to see if he does get declared. I didn't think it was much of a race in behind Josh, to be honest. Probably one that I'll be keeping the money into satchel, because I came down. I must say I looked at it far enough that I thought that Sebastopol would probably take a little bit of beating, which isn't a great sign of a listed race, but he likes good ground. He's good in this type of grade, and also he probably needs a step up to 2.5 miles at this stage. He had some decent form at the back end of last season, including winning at this track over 2 miles. So he'd be maybe one to have a tentative little poke on.
Fergal O'Brien won the race with Jarvis Plate a couple of years ago, and I do quite like Pull Again Green. Like, the performance at Newbury was special, I thought, last year, but McFabulous has just got that class edge. I think it'd be a race that I'd personally watch. The Silver Trophy comes up next, a big competitive handicap hurdle, which has actually been downgraded from a grade 3 handicap to now a class 2. So a big downgrade for the race, but I suppose the field that it's assembled over the last couple of years has been disappointing, and it probably deserves a downgrade, unfortunately. And you've got the likes of Nappers Hill in there, who is interesting, and this ground and trip might be right up his street. But I was slightly worried about his performance despite winning at this meeting last year. Maybe he might need a run or two to really get going. I think he was seen to his best in the spring last year rather than at the start of the season, despite him winning. And then Unanswered Prayers for Chris Gordon, I thought, is an interesting runner if he was to turn up. I do think he's better than 125, but maybe this might be a step too far. But I just think Prashima will run his race. Apparently he's in absolutely fantastic form, and Harry Skelton is extremely excited to ride him. So Prashima, for me, I think he could be a decent price as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's a hard race to figure out. You've got a few horses that are obviously more reputable chasers, potentially running in it off lofty enough hurdles marks. You've got the likes of Nappers Hill, Thunder Rock, who are unexposed novices from last year stepping up. I'd probably be prepared to take those on. And I just think these races are funny at the start of the season. You get certain horses that you wouldn't back almost in any other race that you might have a chance on at this type of a meeting, in this type of race. And I'm going to side for a bit of an enigma of a horse that came actually a very close second in this race last year, and that was Did They Leave You Out Too, who hasn't won since he was a novice hurdler. He has won on the flat since then, but he's ran at Chepstow twice at this meeting, where he was a length second in this race last year off £2 lower, and he fell at 3 out the year before when he looked like he was going to come with a big run in the 2 mile handicap hurdle. I think 2.5 miles strong pace to aim at is probably what he wants. As I say, he's only £2 higher than what he was last year, and I would say, given the fact he's not a perennial winner, you'll get a decent enough price about him, and he's not really fashionable anymore. But he was a good bumper horse. He was a very exciting novice hurdler back a number of years ago. I think of 131, he's the type of horse that have him primed for this day, because they know there mightn't be too many days throughout the winter season that you can catch him right.
Over on Sunday at Fosslas, we have the Welsh Champion Hurdle, the first of the champion hurdles of the season. One of the great vintage champion hurdles, I must say. Probably the highlight, actually, out of them all. But they've got old-timers there that keep coming to these races, the Scottish Champion Hurdle, the likes of Milkwood, who perform so well in races like this. But I actually think there's 2 horses towards the bottom of the weights that could be extremely well handicapped. One being Harry Fry's Gin Coco, who actually went off favourite for a Punchestown handicap, finished second that day, but absolutely dotted up in Novice Hurdle beforehand. I think he's only had 2 starts for Harry Fry. He looks interesting. And then Severance for Ben Pauling, who's also keeps bumping into these well-handicapped horses in big handicaps, and surely at some point one of them has got to go his way.
Yeah, you'd think so. He's a very consistent horse. He's a very hardy horse as well. I liked one near enough the bottom as well. Again, a little bit like Peregrine Run. Don't know for sure whether this horse will take her chance. But if Effernock Fizz runs in this off 128 and she brings the run she put in at Tipperary last week when behind Jessie Evans, she'd take a lot of stopping. She likes flat left-handed tracks. If you let her go on the front end, I look at the race, I don't see too much other pace in there. And if she manages to get away, she could be hard to catch, and Fosslas is a type of track that does favour that type of horse. And I just wonder, with the likes of Milkwood having to give her in excess of a stone, she's not really the type of mare I'd want to be giving that. She is a little bit of a head case, so I'm not sure whether they will take her over, just because I don't know whether, travelling may fry her brain completely, because she is buzzy. But if she does come over and she does take her chance, I'd certainly give her a few quid each way. You'll get a decent enough price. She's not from a fashionable yard and trainer, and as a result, she might be one that's maybe overpriced based off her ability.
Interesting. Now it's time for our best bets, the first best bets of this season. It feels good. We're on a good run of form last year as well. This is a tricky meeting to start off with, I must say. I'm going to put 3 up. One is Lord Accord in the 2:17 on Saturday. Do quite like him. Do think he's well handicapped. The other one's on Friday, and this is probably my best bet, and that's Forgot to Ask at 12-1 in the Veterans Chase. I think the ground and trip will be perfect for him. He's won at Chepstow before, despite that being a bumper about 5 years ago. But he's won at Chepstow, so he goes around well there. And I do think he's due one of these races. Tom George will have an absolutely spot on. He's right towards the bottom, and I think Forgot to Ask at 12-1 each way. I really, really like him. He'd probably be my nap of the weekend. And then out of those 2 unexposed horses in the Welsh Champion, I've gone with Severance of Ben Pauling. I think he could run well. So they're my 3.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep it to 3 as well. In the Silver Trophy, I like Did They Leave You Out too. I'm hoping for a double figure price that we can get stuck into each way. And 2 from races on Saturday that we haven't covered. The John Ayres Memorial Handicap Chase, 2.5 mile handicap chase. I quite like Flicko Voyou for Paul Nicholls in this. He's the type of horse that Paul always seems to run at this meeting. He's won at this meeting before. He's come a close second at this meeting before. He's off 133. I think that there's a little bit of room for wiggle room over fences with him off 133. Last time he was off that mark, he came a very close second at Sandown last winter. And then the 4-year-old listed handicap hurdle, another decent enough race. It's after the Silver Trophy on the Saturday. I think there's a lot more to come from Saint Segal this year. I don't know whether it's going to be quite this race. I don't know whether he's going to need the run, but off 125, like, he absolutely tanked through the Boodles last year, didn't quite get home at Cheltenham. A flatter track will suit. He showed some good juvenile form last year, including at this track when second to Porticello in the Grade 1 over Christmas time. And I think Saint Segal off 125. I'd be very disappointed if he can't make that pay this year.
Come on, sit down. Take a seat.
Do you know what? I feel honoured to be here.
It's all right. Tom, have you ever watched Let's Talk Racing?
I have, yes.
You need to get in vision.
Well, there we go. Yeah. Andrew, great to see you.
Pleasure as always.
One horse at Chepstow this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to go Pull Again Green for Fergal O'Brien, a horse that I really like. I thought he was very impressive in his last couple of starts of the season last year, and I think he is a chaser in the making. He's got a little bit to find with McFabulous. I'm not convinced Paul Nicholls' horse is going to run, so hopefully Pull Again Green can have it all his way, and he's a big, scopy, gigantic sort who I think is going to thrive over those larger obstacles. So hopefully, Josh, Pull Again Green can get off the perfect start this season.
Very good. Thank you very much. You
Top
are
man.
Currently live on air, aren't you?
Indeed. Well, not right now. But
Well, yeah, not right now. That's currently actually going out over the 6:15 at Kempton or whatever. But thank you very much for joining us.
Top man, thank you very much.
Pull Again Green.
Indeed.
Wins this weekend. And the LTR viewers will be in clover if that does win.
Oh, if people can't subscribe to Tom Bull, coming off air especially, that he's been on air. I had him on the screen 5 minutes ago, and he's come on to a Let's Talk Racing video. That just shows you clout in the YouTube world.
And we do have to say one thing before we go, and that is a certain ABW is making the trip to Prestbury Park for the October meeting. You couldn't miss it.
Yeah, I am indeed. I've bowed down to peer pressure. I knew I had to come to Prestbury Park in October. The members badge came in the post this morning and everything. It was as if it was meant to be. So yeah, no, really looking forward to obviously getting over there. I'm going to be there 2 days in October, 3 days in November and 4 days in March. So we're going to be there in increments all the way through the year. Hopefully we'll be in the Feathered Fish as well. So fingers crossed, either on the Friday or the Saturday, we might see you in there for a beer, might see you in there for a chat about racing. And of course, on course, if you see me or Josh up there, make sure you come over and have a chat and let us know who you're fancying for that. But that concludes this week's Let's Talk Racing video. Really hope you did enjoy this preview of Chepstow. It's brilliant to be back previewing National Hunt Racing ahead of what is a fantastic year ahead of us. If you did enjoy the video, do give it a like. Subscribe to the channel down below. It helps us more than anything. Of course, look after Let's Talk Racing Plus as well if you're interested in a bit more additional comments and additional content as well. That will be down in the description down below. But until next week, goodbye for now.